generally working as intended, but concentrations of diesel in the groundwater are still above acceptable levels. Diesel levels may not reach the planned cleanup goals within 10 years of the cleanup work, which is this year. The port is coordinating with the state to collect more data to inform another decision on whether the site needs more cleanup to address diesel concentrations there. If you'd like more details on all of this, you can look at the draft periodic review report that we've linked on this story on our website at myclallamcounty.com. More news after this.
Hi, I'm John Holm, president of Tri-State Roofing, serving the Puget Sound since 2007. Tri-State Roofing is committed to making every step of the process stress-free. You'll have a dedicated production manager helping you with every aspect, start to finish. Right now, we're offering 0 down, 0 interest, and 0 payments for 6 months. Call Tri-State today, and we'll be out tomorrow.
Tri-State Roofing, we got you covered.
Planning to do a remodel or demolition of a structure? Call Orca before you begin. Asbestos can be found in any building, no matter its age. You can even find asbestos-containing materials in new products to protect the health of anyone who will be in that building or on the lot in the future. Most demolition and renovation projects require an asbestos survey and notification of your action. Visit orca.org for details. That's orcaa.org.
With so many choices for deliveries, how convenient is it that you've got an option for the perfect cup of joe, too? Fogtown Coffee in Port Angeles delivers. We offer a no-cost delivery for orders to businesses of $20 or more within city limits. Call 360-504-3509 for delivery or download the Joe Coffee app. Just text coffee to 474747 and order ahead for store pickup. You can even schedule a specific time. Fogtown Coffee on Front Street, your front door coffee delivery headquarters.
In other news, Peninsula College is eliminating 3 instructional programs and pausing 2 others, part of efforts to address ongoing financial challenges. College President Susie Ames announced the changes last week, saying the school is dealing with rising operating costs and state funding pressures that are affecting community colleges across the state. Beginning with the next academic year, Peninsula College will discontinue administrative office systems, paralegal, and multimedia. The automotive service technician and family life education programs will be paused this fall as the college evaluates its enrollment and long-term sustainability. Ames says the college has already reduced its overall budget by about 7% over the past year through cost-saving measures that included closing the Fort Worden campus. The college now plans temporary furloughs for exempt and classified employees earning at least $90,000 annually. The furloughs are expected to begin this July and are currently planned as a 1-year measure. Now, not all programs that were under review were cut. The construction trades program will continue, but reopen for enrollment next fall with updated curriculum, expanded lab space, and some new equipment supported by community donations in part. College leaders say some newer programs, such as dental hygiene and mobile workforce training, were created to address regional workforce shortages, and those are supported through grants, partnerships, and philanthropy, and they will proceed as planned. Port Angeles School District selecting Andrea Hare to be the next principal at Hamilton Elementary School. Hare will replace longtime principal Gary Pringle, who's retiring after many years of service to the district. District officials say Hare brings 25 years of experience in public education and has served as a principal, assistant principal, instructional coach, school counselor, and a classroom teacher. Since 2019, she's been principal at Hodge Elementary School. That's a dual language campus in Denton Independent School District in Texas. And a Thurston County judge has upheld a controversial Washington law revising parental rights in public schools, rejecting a lawsuit that sought to block the measure. Superior Court Judge John Skinder on Friday ruled in favor of the state, though he acknowledged the case is likely headed to an appeal. The law, House Bill 1296, rewrote a conservative-backed parents' rights initiative that was approved by lawmakers in 2024. The original measure guaranteed parents access to school records, classroom materials, and the ability to opt students out of certain assignments involving topics such as sexual experience or religious beliefs. Critics argue the revised law gives the state more authority over schools and weakens parental rights. Supporters say the changes were needed to protect vulnerable students, including transgender youth. The plaintiffs, including school board members and parents from several Washington communities, had argued the law could prevent schools from informing parents if a child changes gender identity or pronouns at school. State attorneys countered that the law does not require schools to withhold information from parents. The case comes as voters prepare to consider a statewide initiative this November that would overturn House Bill 1296 and restore the original parents' rights measure. This is News Radio KONP.
End-of-life decisions are hard. Be it pre-planning or sudden loss, you need to have an advocate in your corner, which is why I wholeheartedly recommend Drennan & Ford Funeral Home and Crematory in Port Angeles, the only locally owned funeral home and crematory in Clallam County. Their expertise ensures a smooth process so you can focus on healing and being with your loved ones. Their help through the darkest time in my life will forever stay with me. Call 360-457-1210.
Looking for the next place to call home? Come to our Lavender Meadows and Swim. Beautiful, affordable homes for active 55-plus adults. Our modern, low-maintenance homes give you more time to enjoy life. More than a home, you'll enjoy community, active lifestyle, value, and security. We're confident you'll appreciate the modern amenities too. Come to our Lavender Meadows and Swim, or online at lavendermeadowsmhc.com.
In 1983, Tom and Ida McEwen opened All Weather Heating and Cooling. Their vision for a family-owned and operated business with personalized customer service made them the #1 choice for your heating and cooling needs. In 2014, their daughter Janae and her business partner Dustin Halverson purchased All Weather. In preserving Tom and Ida's vision, customer service is still top priority and your only local authorized carrier dealer. All Weather Heating and Cooling, because everyone calls us.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast, brought to you by All Weather Heating and Cooling. Daytime highs approaching 61 this afternoon under mainly sunny skies, northwesterly winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight, lows dip down to about 45. Daytime highs approaching 61 tomorrow, cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. A blend of clouds and sun and dry Wednesday and Thursday, mid-60s, Wednesday, upper 60s by Thursday. Take a look at the extended forecast, 67 Friday, 65 Saturday, and 62 on Sunday. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Right now, it's 55 degrees.
The NBA's Final Four are locked in. Good morning. I'm Jay Reynolds. The Western Conference Finals getting underway tonight. Thunder Spurs, Game 1. Tomorrow, Eastern Conference in New York. Knicks hosting the Cavaliers, who take Game 7.
They win 125-94 in Detroit.
The result is surprising, but the way it happened is even more surprising.
It was on ESPN Radio, and it was a 31-point rout for the Cavs on the road. They led by 17 at the half, by as much as 35. They're the third team in history to win Game 7 on the road by at least 30, and they advanced to their first conference finals appearance since 2018. Oklahoma City and San Antonio get the Western Conference Finals underway tonight. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Thunder named MVP for a second straight year. WNBA, Temple beat the Sparks for their first road win in franchise history. Caitlin Clark, 21 points, 10 assists. Fever beat the Storm by 11. Aces a 1-point win over the Dream, handing Atlanta its first loss of the season. Baseball, Dodgers, Padres open a 3-game series today. They are separated by a half game atop the NL West. LA a 10-1 rout of the Angels for their 5th straight win. Padres one-hit the Mariners last night to sweep the series. In New York, Mets get a 3-run homer in the bottom of the 9th to tie, then beat the Yankees in 10, 7-6. Cubs score 3 in the 9th to tie the White Sox, but in the 10th,
Caro hits a fly ball out into deep left center field. It's back there. It is gone! Edgar Caro wins it! Shut up!
ESPN 1000 in Chicago. White Sox have won 7 of the last 8. Giants score 8 in the 8th. They beat the Athletics 10-1. Diamondbacks get a pair of homers from Corbin Carroll and beat Colorado 8-6. Rangers shut out Houston 8-0. Phillies 6-0 shut out of the Pirates. Paul Skeens giving up 5 in 5 innings. Aaron Rye with a final round 565 wins the PGA Championship.
In local sports, for the 4th straight year, the Port Angeles Rough Rider baseball team is headed to the Class 2A state tournament. The Riders blew out Steilacoom 12-2 Friday, then beat Olympic 2-1 Saturday in a dramatic win. In the win over Stillicum, senior pitcher Cody Williams was in complete control despite brutal wet and cold weather conditions. Williams pitched a complete 6 innings with 3 strikeouts, 4 walks, and allowed just 4 hits and 2 runs. At the plate, senior center fielder Owen Leitz continued his team-leading hitting with 3 singles and 2 runs scored. Junior catcher Carson Waddell hit 2 doubles and scored a run. Ethan Swenson singled, walked twice, and scored 2 runs. First baseman Abe Brinkman doubled and singled, while left fielder Ian Smithson walked, singled, and scored twice. Shortstop Bryce DeLeon singled, walked twice, and scored 2 runs. And second baseman Zach DeBray walked twice and scored twice. Right fielder Easton Fisher walked twice and also scored a run. Now, in the Riders' 2-1 win over Olympic, senior pitcher Braden Martin delivered the best outing of his career in the biggest game of the season. Martin, again pitching in rainy conditions, threw 6 shutout innings with 9 strikeouts and 4 walks. After drawing a walk in the first inning, Karsten Siebel scored on back-to-back singles by Carson Waddell and Abe Brinkman. Leading 2-0 in the bottom of the 7th, first-year head coach Wyatt Hall made the gutsy decision to bring in relief pitcher Ethan Swenson. With 2 outs and the score 2-1, Swenson got Gavin Wells to fly out to right fielder Easton Fisher, setting off the Rough Rider celebration. The Riders, now 14-9, will take on 20-4 and number 2 seed Tumwater Saturday, 10 a.m. at Wheeler Stadium in Centralia. That game will be broadcast live here on KONP with our pregame show starting at 9:30 a.m. The Squim Wolves finished their solid season with an 8-15 record, and an 11-6 loss to state-bound Ording knocked Squim out of the district tournament. Outstanding 3-sport star Zeke Schmedeke had another big game, reaching base 4 times with 2 hits and scoring a run. Catcher Lincoln Bear had a single, a double, and scored 2 runs. Designated hitter Duran Ward singled twice and scored a run, while third baseman Hunter Tennell singled and scored. KONP's broadcast team would like to thank the Wolves head coach Dave Ditlevson and his staff for their help throughout the season with our Wolves broadcasts. Now, the Port Angeles Rough Riders soccer team saw its record-setting season come to an end with a 1-0 loss to Stillicum in a match decided by a controversial late penalty kick. Oliver Martinez had 2 strong header chances in the box, while Tanner LaGrange had 2 early shots from the right side, but the Rough Riders just could not find the back of the net. The Rough Riders softball team won 3 straight games to capture the district championship over the weekend. Port Angeles beat Ording 11-1, Kingston 11-0, and North Kitsap 10-8. We'll have a full report on the district tournament for the girls tomorrow, along with a look ahead at the Riders' upcoming state opponent as they head to the state tournament in Sela. Mariners host the White Sox. We take the air at 5:30 this evening here on KONP, brought to you by Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment Sales.
This is Ed from Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment Sales. Our family has trucked hay to feed the hungry animals in Western Washington for 4 generations. In that time, we have built a growing legacy of serving the needs of our customers, and we've never stopped. In 2014, we ventured into the equipment world by becoming a dealer and service provider for Mahindra tractors. Since then, we have partnered with quality brands such as Bad Boy, Aaron's Gravely, LS Tractor, Husqvarna, Snake River Trailers, and now Wacker Neuson Construction Equipment. We have a 3-base shop where we not only service the brands we sell, but we also work on most major brands including Kubota, John Deere, and New Holland. We carry a wide variety of parts, filters, belts, and fluids. We have a fully stocked hydraulic shop and can build hoses for most machines while you wait. Chainsaw or weed eater needs some TLC, we work on small engines too. We even offer welding and fabrication services. We have been earning the Peninsula's trust for over 25 years with your animal's care, and we look forward to earning your trust with your equipment's care too.
News Radio KONP Business.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. You could be getting your money back from Bank of America. The bank has agreed to pay $2.25 million to settle a class action lawsuit that the lender overcharged its own customers who used ATMs at 7-Eleven stores from 2018 to 2021 by double charging an out-of-network fee to checking account holders just for doing a balance inquiry. The bank has admitted no wrongdoing but settled to avoid a fight in court. On Wall Street, stocks have been under pressure for much of the day on failed hopes for a deal between the U.S. and Iran to reopen the critical Strait of Hormuz, and crude oil futures have been higher. The Swedish-based do-it-yourself furniture retailer IKEA grappling with rising costs for raw materials and weakening consumer sentiment because of inflation, and it is cutting about 850 workers worldwide. And Domino's Pizza is getting into the World Cup spirit. It'll give away $1 million in free pizza if a U.S. soccer player gets a red card in the tournament. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
Right now at Angelus Furniture, take advantage of huge spring savings on Stressless by Eckerness. Save $200 on each stressless seat. That means 2 seats are $400 off, 3 are $600 off, and so on, up to 5 seats. Check out the beautiful mint low back with arms in Paloma teal blue and black leather, and the Emily angled sofa with wide arms in Paloma chestnut. The spring stressless sale going on now through June 1st at Angelus Furniture.
Hi, I'm Dr. Calvin Quo. I'm a primary care physician at Olympic Medical Center. You've likely heard a lot lately about GLP-1 medications for chronic disease and weight loss, but are they right for you? Join me for a free presentation on Thursday, May 21st at 5:30 p.m. in the Seasons Cafe at Olympic Memorial Hospital. We'll discuss how these medications work, potential side effects, and what to ask your doctor. Learn more about the presentation at olympicmedical.org/events. I hope to see you there.
News Radio KONP, traffic and roads.
And let's head up to Clallam Transit Dispatch Center down. That's where Steve's standing by. He's watching the roads for us on this Monday afternoon. Good afternoon, Steve.
Hi there. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, a little bit on the busy side. If you're making your way through either Port Angeles or Sequim area, downtown Port Angeles, both First Street, Front Street, Lincoln, 8th Street, those areas, a lot of traffic. It is moving pretty close to the speed limit for the most part, but just kind of expect some delays as you're making your way through town. If you're on Highway 101 between the two cities, it is busy out there as well. Our construction area, a little slow going through there as everybody kind of gangs up trying to make their way through. But beyond that, everything kind of smooths out, and you should be just fine on making your way out to the Sequim area. If you're headed beyond Sequim, Cook Canal Bridge currently is good to go. Nothing scheduled for marine openings until this evening. That's when they're doing the maintenance. It closes at 10 p.m. Doesn't open again until 5 in the morning, so be aware of that if you're headed in that direction. If you're headed out to the west end, we're in good shape all the way out to the Forks area. No real issues out there. Traffic is moving along pretty smoothly. A little on the busy side in places, but overall traffic is, like I say, moving right along at the speed limit. So everybody take care. Enjoy your afternoon. This is Steve reporting live from Clallam Transit for KONP.
Thank you, Steve. Another update from you in about a half hour. Your weather forecast going to be sunny the rest of the afternoon. Highs in the low to mid 60s. Partly cloudy this evening. Then more clouds roll in overnight. Lows tonight in the mid to upper 40s. Going to be mostly cloudy for Tuesday. Highs in the low to mid 60s, but back to sunshine. And we might touch 70 degrees as we head towards Wednesday into Thursday this week. Right now across the North Olympic Peninsula, down in the east end, Port Townsend's got 57 now. Out west at Forks, 61. Sequim checking in at 60. And out at Fairchild Airport here in Port Angeles, it's now 55 degrees.
If you're thinking about breaking out that fan you've tucked away to keep you cool with the weather turning more summer-like, you might want to think again. A new study suggests that using a fan isn't the best way to beat the heat. Researchers at the University of Sydney found that electric fans made people sweat more when it was hot and humid, and that's not helping keeping them cool. The study also found that using a fan while dehydrated made people feel even more thirsty and more uncomfortable in the sweltering heat. So during a heat wave, drink plenty of fluids. If you don't have air conditioning, a fan might help you cool down as long as the air isn't too humid. But when temperatures and humidity soar, a fan might just end up doing more harm than good. So consider heading to a cooling center or another location that has air conditioning. With this Medical Minute, I'm Dave Packer.
Chaos at Swatch stores around the world as shoppers desperately try to get their hands on a rare watch. Police recently had to control an unruly crowd outside a mall in Philadelphia, as ABC's Hannah Butta reports.
Swatch and luxury timepiece maker Audemars Piguet, whose watches can sell for millions, collaborated to create the highly sought-after Royal Pop pocket watch. Swatch is selling them in stores for about $400, but online they're being resold for up to 10 times that. An extra 100 officers were called in as people tried to enter the mall by breaking down the doors. One person was arrested.
From ABC News Tech Trends, lawyers for the tech firms Snap, YouTube, and TikTok have agreed to settle a closely watched case. More than 1,000 school districts across the U.S. have filed lawsuits against the tech companies, accusing them of harming the education system. Meta has so far not settled and will stand trial in California next month. It comes as a jury begins deliberating Elon Musk's case against Sam Altman. Musk claims Altman tricked him into investing money into OpenAI, the artificial intelligence firm they co-founded, back when it was a non-profit. Altman transitioned the company into a for-profit business last year. Both OpenAI and Elon Musk's SpaceX are expected to file public offerings before the end of the year. And Xbox is rebranding, kind of. After the gaming wing of Microsoft ran a poll on social media last week, the company has now changed how its name is written to all capital letters. Previously, it was just the first X that was capitalized. With Tech Trends, I'm Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Breast cancer is the most common cancer among women in the world. And according to a new study out of the University of Washington School of Medicine, an estimated 3.5 million cases a year are expected by 2050. Now, the good news is we've gotten so much better at screening, earlier detection, and cutting-edge treatments in many countries, including here in the United States. But even here in America, Black women have a death rate from breast cancer that is 40% higher than white women, a disparity that exists despite our world-class treatment infrastructure. So what can you do to lower your risk? Eat less red meat? Try your best to manage your blood sugar and your weight? Exercise is really important. Cut back on drinking, quit smoking. And remember this, you should start getting mammograms. At what age? 40. That's when you should start. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from IQ-Bar. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at eatiqbar.com/policy/terms of service.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 9 plant protein bars, 8 hydration mixes, and 4 mushroom coffee sticks. And now you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping when you text RADIO to 64,000. Text RADIO to 64,000 to get your 20% off. That's RADIO to 64,000.
Hello, I'm Jerry Stewart, and this is One Moment in America. In these days of instant gratification, there is one part of our lives best not instant. I'll tell you that story after this important message.
Hello, Jerry Stewart here for Liberty Village. Kelly and I recently made an exciting trip to Liberty Village in Hurricane, Utah to meet the Liberty Village staff, stroll around the area, and investigate the village layout. We also went to see the various historic figures dressed in their 1776 apparels. It was an exciting adventure. What was it like? Well, the village streets and buildings, the characters, not just dressed in costumes, but being a 1776 community as they portrayed the greatest figures in our early America. The goal of Liberty Village? To inspire our youth and their families with a love for liberty and the American spirit of civic duty and unity. Visit libertyvillage.org/education to see their website. And something else, join up now to receive free downloadable lessons teaching the founding values right in your own home. Prepare now to see Liberty Village for yourself, and please spread the word about this unique place in America to all. See you there.
There is a plant, the Chinese bamboo, that is a powerful lesson to us all. You plant the seed and care for it every day, but the first year, nothing sprouts. The second year, same thing. Still no plant. Finally, believe it or not, after 7 years, the plant finally sprouts. And get this, in the 7th year, it grows 70 feet tall in 1 year. The lesson here? When it comes to your character, your values, your inner core of who you are as a person, don't always look for the quick fixes and easy solutions. Instead, diligently and faithfully plod forward, stay the course, and someday you will be a person of solid, God-honoring qualities. I'm Jerry Stewart, and that was One Moment in America.
Home affordability.
Yes, it does exist here on the peninsula with Mountain View Homes. Looking for a quality craftsmanship home at 40% less than stick-built? Call Mountain View Homes. We specialize in affordable homes with full-service land packages, dirt to turnkey, quality, beautiful, and an efficient manufactured home on the site of your choice. Mountain View Homes has 3 locations to serve you, including Carlsberg. Visit mtviewhomes.com. That's mtviewhomes.com.
Do you have questions about the real estate market but not sure where to start? Call me at Century 21 Real Estate Center in Port Angeles. This is Joyce Glayton. We're here to help you make sense of your options. No pressure, no obligation. Find us at our new office location at 1205 East Front Street in Port Angeles. Yep, even realtors move. Same team, new location. We're Century 21 Real Estate Center.
First Fed is proud of their 100-year tradition of giving back to the Clallam and Jefferson County community. The First Fed Foundation supports local organizations building a brighter future for the disadvantaged and the marginalized persons and families in Clallam and Jefferson County. Partnering with nonprofits like Peninsula Behavioral Health, supporting construction of 36 permanent, affordable supportive housing units for chronically homeless individuals and families in Port Angeles. The foundation also supports Serenity House of Clallam County and the West End Housing Resource Center, giving the ability to serve more of Clallam County's low-income and homeless population. The First Fed Foundation is committed to supporting nonprofits, tribes, school districts, and government agencies, providing critical, timely assistance and ensuring a brighter future for our community.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington.
What do we want? When do we want it? Now!
Workers want better pay. Commuters in New York City suburbs want to get to work. They navigated a gauntlet of car, bus, and subway routes today to get around the fact that the nation's largest subway system is shut down now because of the walkout that kicked in over the weekend. Unions representing the rail workers and the Metropolitan Transportation Agency held long talks yesterday but could not come to terms. A drone strike on a nuclear plant as the U.S. and Iran signal that they are prepared to resume war in that strike in the United Arab Emirates. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham says negotiations with Iran have simply hit a brick wall.
President Trump's very frustrated. So what to do next? I think it's going to be very difficult to get a deal with the current regime.
And he says he supports military strikes now at Iran's energy infrastructure.
I talked to the CIA director yesterday. Is there any evidence that the crowd in charge now is any less committed to destroying Israel, going after us, the great Satan, purifying Islam? I think the answer is no. So weaken them further and you may get a deal later, but you're not going to get a deal with this crowd until you hurt them more.
That's Senator Lindsey Graham. Tense debates on redistricting have already played out across the South. Now Republicans are looking to tweak the map in South Carolina as well. We get more on that from correspondent Laura Winters.
Democrats upset as redistricting map wars erupt across the South in states like Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida. Now South Carolina is in play. Republicans ramping up efforts to tweak the map with the goal of voting out Democrat Congressman Jim Clyburn in District 6. He says regardless, he's in it to win it, Clyburn telling CNN.
So I'm going to run, irrespective of what the makeup of the district might be.
Laura Winters reporting.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hey, I'm Kirk Cameron. Is health insurance eating up your budget for 2026? If you're looking for ways to better steward your finances, consider this: Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a health insurance alternative at half the cost. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. While insurance companies tell you when to join, what to pay, and where to go, CHM is different. As a ministry, CHM allows you to share the burden of medical bills with other Christians. You can enroll, switch programs, or leave at any time. Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a world of difference. CHM has 4 flexible programs. You can pick any certified doctor, surgeon, or hospital that you want for eligible care. So make the switch. Take your paycheck back from health insurance this year. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
That stricken hantavirus ship has now come to the end of its journey.
The cruise ship hit by a deadly hantavirus outbreak has docked at the Dutch port of Rotterdam for disinfection, wrapping up a troubled journey that has put international health authorities on alert. The NV Hondius was carrying 25 crew members and 2 medical personnel as it reached Rotterdam on Monday morning after all the passengers disembarked elsewhere. AP reports people boarding the boat were wearing white hazardous materials suits. A short distance from where the ship docked, authorities had set up white containers along the water in between a line of windmills. The crew will enter immediate quarantine. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Nextra Energy is seeking to acquire Dominion Energy in an all-stock deal valued at about $67 billion. If it goes through, it would create a massive power company as the energy needs of artificial intelligence drive demand higher across the country. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. Acting U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche says the Justice Department's probe into the Russia collusion hoax surrounding President Trump has uncovered serious findings. Blanche says investigators have issued hundreds of subpoenas and questioned multiple witnesses as well. Blanche also says there is substantial evidence of irregularities in the 2020 election. Veteran TV evangelist James Robinson died on Sunday. He was 82 years old. We get more details from correspondent Andrew Stewart.
Reverend James Robinson got his start in Pasadena, Texas. He pushed through a lot of tough times early on, though, to eventually build an international platform. Robinson often talked about feeling called to the ministry when he was just a kid. Robinson officially kicked off his TV evangelism ministry back in 1968.
That is correspondent Andrew Stewart reporting. You'll find more on these stories at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Bob Agnew.
This is the News Radio KONP Noon Report.
Todd Ortloff in the KONP News Center. Here's a look at what's happening on this Monday, May 18th. Rubber ducks plucked from the back of pickup trucks yesterday during the 37th annual Great Olympic Peninsula Duck Derby at Port Angeles City Pier. The annual event benefits the Olympic Medical Center Foundation, supporting healthcare programs, medical equipment, and patient services across the region. This year's top prize, the new 2026 Toyota Corolla donated by Wilder Auto, went to Walter Trial. Sharon Nordmark won $1,500 cash from Seven Cedars Casino for second, while James McFarland came in third, claiming a $1,100 cash prize. Additional prizes donated by local businesses, including restaurant gift certificates, hotel stays, and other community giveaways, all listed on our website. Look for this story at myclallamcounty.com. The public comment period on the State Department of Ecology's draft report about the K-Ply cleanup site on Port Angeles Harbor now available for comment. The K-Ply property on Marine Drive, now owned by the Port of Port Angeles, was a lumber mill and plywood mill from 1926 to 2011. The site now in the process of being redeveloped, but it's currently vacant except for a boat wash facility run by the port. A 2016 cleanup operation at the area included removing some 50,000 tons of soil, bioremediation, and groundwater monitoring. Because some contamination was left behind during cleanup, Ecology reviews conditions at the site about every 5 years to make sure human health and the environment are still protected. Well, Ecology found that the cleanup is generally working as intended, but concentrations of diesel in the groundwater are still above acceptable levels. Diesel levels may not reach the planned cleanup goals within 10 years of the cleanup work, which is this year. The port is coordinating with the state to collect more data to inform another decision on whether the site needs more cleanup to address diesel concentrations there. If you'd like more details on all of this, you can look at the draft periodic review report that we've linked on this story on our website at myclallamcounty.com. More news after this.
Hi, this is Port Commissioner Connie Beauvais. The Port of Port Angeles brings you a look inside your port and shares exciting updates and developments designed to attract even more business and jobs to our area. This year, we welcome Citizen Air to our skies, a new aviation company expanding operations at Fairchild International Airport. This marks a fresh chapter in regional air travel, offering private jet ownership opportunities and plans for reliable and affordable scheduled service out of Port Angeles. By committing to our area's future, Citizen Air will help transform how we connect with the world beyond. Partnering with the port, their mission is simple: make flying more accessible and more dependable for all of us. Lift your eyes to the skies. A bright new era is ahead for our community.
This has been your Port of PA Today. Explore portofpa.com.
Hi everyone, it's Alicia Campion with Ridgeline Home Care Cooperative. We're a worker-owned cooperative. Our caregivers are owners, focused on dignity, trust, and supporting loved ones at home. Accepting care is about independence, not weakness. We care and support the life someone has already built. Join our team or trust us with your loved one's care. We're Ridgeline Home Care Cooperative, with you at home. Call 360-504-3837.
In other news, Peninsula College is eliminating 3 instructional programs and pausing 2 others, part of efforts to address ongoing financial challenges. College President Susie Ames announced the changes last week, saying the school is dealing with rising operating costs and state funding pressures that are affecting community colleges across the state. Beginning with the next academic year, Peninsula College will discontinue administrative office systems, paralegal, and multimedia. The automotive service technician and family life education programs will be paused this fall as the college evaluates its enrollment and long-term sustainability. Ames says the college has already reduced its overall budget by about 7% over the past year through cost-saving measures that included closing the Fort Worden campus. The college now plans temporary furloughs for exempt and classified employees earning at least $90,000 annually. The furloughs are expected to begin this July and are currently planned as a one-year measure. Now, not all programs that were under review were cut. The construction trades program will continue, but reopen for enrollment next fall with updated curriculum, expanded lab space, and some new equipment supported by community donations in part. College leaders say some newer programs, such as dental hygiene and mobile workforce training, were created to address regional workforce shortages, and those are supported through grants, partnerships, and philanthropy, and they will proceed as planned. Port Angelo School District selecting Andrea Hare to be the next principal at Hamilton Elementary School. Hare will replace longtime principal Gary Pringle, who's retiring after many years of service to the district. District officials say Hare brings 25 years of experience in public education and has served as a principal, assistant principal, instructional coach, school counselor, and a classroom teacher. Since 2019, she's been principal at Hodge Elementary School. That's a dual language campus in Denton Independent School District in Texas. And a Thurston County judge has upheld a controversial Washington law revising parental rights in public schools, rejecting a lawsuit that sought to block the measure. Superior Court Judge John Skinder on Friday ruled in favor of the state, though he acknowledged the case is likely headed to an appeal. The law, House Bill 1296, rewrote a conservative-backed parents' rights initiative that was approved by lawmakers in 2024. The original measure guaranteed parents access to school records, classroom materials, and the ability to opt students out of certain assignments involving topics such as sexual experience or religious beliefs. Critics argue the revised law gives the state more authority over schools and weakens parental rights. Supporters say the changes were needed to protect vulnerable students, including transgender youth. The plaintiffs, including school board members and parents from several Washington communities, had argued the law could prevent schools from informing parents if a child changes gender identity or pronouns at school. State attorneys countered that the law does not require schools to withhold information from parents. The case comes as voters prepare to consider a statewide initiative this November that would overturn House Bill 1296 and restore the original parents' rights measure. This is News Radio KONP.
This is Alan Barnard, and this volunteer spotlight shines on Volunteer Hospice of Clallam County. Building on 4 decades of hospice experience, Volunteer Hospice of Clallam County provides industry-standard care for end-of-life and chronically ill patients, including professional 24/7 nursing care, grief support, medical equipment lending, and education, all at no cost to the patient or the government. Volunteers are involved in all areas of the organization and truly serve the community with their time and talent. But more volunteers are needed, especially in Sequim area, to deliver medical equipment. To join, please call 360-452-1511. That's 360-452-1511. Compassionate hospice care is truly priceless and so appreciated. It's said, that services and rent we pay for our space on Earth. Well, that's why we present this volunteer spotlight, sponsored by Jim Hagwood of PA Realty.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast, brought to you by All Weather Heating and Cooling. Daytime highs approaching 61 this afternoon under mainly sunny skies, northwesterly winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight, lows dip down to about 45. Daytime highs approaching 61 tomorrow, cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. A blend of clouds and sun and dry Wednesday and Thursday, mid-60s, Wednesday, upper 60s by Thursday. Take a look at the extended forecast, 67 Friday, 65 Saturday, and 62 on Sunday. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Right now, it's 55 degrees.
Mariners and White Sox, 5:30 airtime here on KONP this evening. Brought to you by Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment Sales in Sequim.
The NBA's Final Four are locked in. Good morning. I'm Jay Reynolds. The Western Conference Finals getting underway tonight. Thunder Spurs, Game 1. Tomorrow, Eastern Conference in New York. Knicks hosting the Cavaliers, who take Game 7.
They win 125-94 in Detroit.
The result is surprising, but the way it happened is even more surprising.
It was on ESPN Radio, and it was a 31-point rout for the Cavs on the road. They led by 17 at the half, by as much as 35. They're the third team in history to win Game 7 on the road by at least 30, and they advanced to their first conference finals appearance since 2018. Oklahoma City and San Antonio get the Western Conference Finals underway tonight. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Thunder named MVP for a second straight year. WNBA, Tempo beat the Sparks for their first road win in franchise history. Caitlin Clark, 21 points, 10 assists. Fever beat the Storm by 11. Aces a 1-point win over the Dream, handing Atlanta its first loss of the season. Baseball, Dodgers, Padres open a 3-game series today. They are separated by a half game atop the NL West. LA a 10-1 rout of the Angels for their 5th straight win. Padres one-hit the Mariners last night to sweep the series. In New York, Mets get a 3-run homer in the bottom of the 9th to tie, then beat the Yankees in 10, 7-6. Cubs score 3 in the 9th to tie the White Sox, but in the 10th,
Caro hits a fly ball out into deep left center field. It's back there. It is gone! Edgar Caro wins it!
ESPN 1000 in Chicago. White Sox have won 7 of the last 8. Giants score 8 in the 8th. They beat the Athletics 10-1. Diamondbacks get a pair of homers from Corbin Carroll and beat Colorado 8-6. Rangers shut out Houston 8-0. Phillies 6-0 shutout of the Pirates. Paul Skeens giving up 5 in 5 innings. Aaron Rye with a final round 565 wins the PGA Championship.
Caring for a loved one takes heart and help. Dungeness Court Memory Care is there for you. Our adult day stay program offers a safe, nurturing environment with meals, engaging activities, caregiving support, and on-site nursing care. Day stay is available 7 days a week from 30 minutes to 10 hours with no minimum commitment for only $25 an hour. Care for your loved one. Peace of mind for you. Call 360-582-9309 to schedule a free assessment today.
Hey everybody, Todd here at Price Ford. And backed by popular demand, Ford has come out with the employee pricing for everyone. And I'm not talking about what I would pay as an employee, I'm talking about what the corporate employees pay. You can't buy a new Ford for less money. This offer covers almost every vehicle in the Ford lineup. So if you're in the market for a new Ford, hurry down to Price Ford right on Highway 101, right next to Walmart in Port Angeles, and we'll have a vehicle waiting for you.
We can't wait to see you at this year's Juan de Fuca Festival, May 22nd through 24th. Hi friends, it's Carrie Chance with JFFA. We've been celebrating music, art, and the community since 1993. Join us this Memorial Day weekend for over 70 performances live on 5 stages. And don't miss our free street fair featuring artisan vendors, community partners, delicious food choices, and our ever-popular Kids Zone. Visit jffa.org for festival details and tickets.
Black Diamond Junction, voted best live band on the peninsula for 10 years running, is coming at you with a brand new show, making its debut at the Juan de Fuca Festival on Friday night on the main stage. Rock out with Black Diamond, Zeppelin, bringing the mix of thunderous hard rock, blues, folk, and psychedelic influences into the sound that helped define classic rock in the 1970s. You do not want to miss this powerhouse show of crazy musicianship and dynamite vocals of BDZ.
News Radio KONP Business.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks have really spent much of the session under a bit of pressure, especially as chip-related stocks fall, but there is hope on prospects of a U.S.-Iran deal, although some see that hope as elusive. A jury has rejected Elon Musk claims OpenAI, under Sam Altman's leadership, betrayed its mission to benefit the public by morphing into a for-profit business, finding that Musk waited too long to sue the company. The Sweden-based do-it-yourself furniture retailer IKEA struggling with rising costs for raw materials and also weakening consumer sentiment in some countries because of inflation. It is cutting hundreds of workers worldwide. Dell says it added 1,000 customers for a key AI product line in the past quarter as it tried to capture business from traditional large businesses taking on new AI workloads. And don't look for Delta to be among the airlines merging with others. The CEO says he'll sit out consolidation in the U.S. aviation market and focus on expanding abroad through partnerships instead. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
Let's get a last check of the noontime traffic next.
Nor wind, nor rain, nor sleet, nor any other weather event is too much to handle for Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment sales. Not only are we the largest feed supplier on the Olympic Peninsula, we carry mowers and blowers, shovels and tractors in all shapes and sizes, and have the largest selection of trailers around. For big or small jobs, Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment sales has the right tool at the right price. Come on in. We'd love to work with you. Leeds Farm Supply and Equipment sales, 259-110, Highway 101 in Sequim.
National Karastan Month is underway now at McCrory Carpet One, offering the biggest savings of the year on Karastan flooring, with prices starting at just $2.99 a square foot for carpet and $4.99 a square foot for LVP. If you desire timeless flooring for your home or business, Karastan flooring is flawless, long-lasting, and made for a life lived beautifully. Right now, get 12 months of 0% financing OAC. When it comes to the perfect flooring, there's no better combo than Karastan and my friends at McCrory Carpet One.
News Radio KONP, traffic and roads.
Hey, back up to Clallam Transit Dispatch Center we go. That's where Steve's standing by with one last check of the noontime roads for us. Good afternoon, Steve.
Hi there. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, it's been a little bit busy this afternoon. If you are in traffic around Port Angeles or Sequim area, for the most part, you're up to the speed limit, but there are a few slowdown areas, mostly around the traffic lights. Downtown Port Angeles has been pretty busy as you come down the hill into the lower area there, and also Sequim along Sequim Avenue, Washington Street's been a little bit busy trying to get through those areas. If you're on the highway between the two cities, not too bad. A lot of traffic out there, but it is moving along at the speed limit. If you're headed beyond the Sequim area, Hood Canal Bridge, good to go currently. Nothing scheduled for marine openings, but tonight, 10 p.m. closure. That lasts till 5 in the morning, 4:35 in the morning. So plan ahead if you're going to be off in that direction. State Ferry is currently running on time. If you're headed out to the west end, we're looking good all the way out to the Forks area. No issues out there. Traffic is moving along at the speed limit. Should be a nice drive, but definitely a little on the breezy side out there, so just be careful. Everybody enjoy your afternoon. This is Steve reporting live from Clallam Transit for KONP.
Thank you, Steve. Going to be sunny the rest of the afternoon today. Highs in the low to mid 60s. Partly cloudy this evening, then becoming mostly cloudy. Lows overnight, mid to upper 40s. Going to have a cloudy Tuesday with your highs around mid 60s. Clouding up still into Tuesday night. Lows mid to upper 40s. Then back to some sunshine by Wednesday. And your highs mid to upper 60s on Wednesday. Right now across the North Peninsula, 58 in Port Townsend. Down in the east end, out west, Forks at 63. It's 64 now in Sequim, and it's 57 degrees now out at Fairchild Airport here in Port Angeles. Well, we get to hear from a woman who welded her own path to history. Here's ABC's Sophie Flay.
For Michaela Spacito, being a trailblazer has always been a dream.
I always wanted to be the first female to do something, and I just figured everything was already taken.
The 21-year-old will soon become the first woman to represent the United States in a global welding competition.
I'm currently welding 80 hours a week, and in between now and September, I'll be doing a series of practice competitions.
The World Skills Competition is the Olympics of the skilled trades, with medals offered in categories from carpentry and plumbing to robotics.
All right, couple of items you may not have known until today. Did you know that KFC in Hong Kong once marketed edible nail polish that tasted like chicken? And in the U.S., about 11,000 people turn 65 years old every day.
1 in 6 people struggles with infertility. IVF changed everything for millions of families. But what's next? That's where it gets complicated. I'm Kim Commando for NetSuite. AI is here, and your competitors are already using it. If your revenue is over 7 figures, get their free guide, Demystifying AI, at netsuite.com/Kim. A company called Conceivable built a robotic assembly line powered by AI that handles the entire IVF process, selecting sperm, selecting eggs, fertilizing embryos, then scoring each one and picking the best candidate to implant. In pilot testing, it achieved a 51% pregnancy rate and produced 19 healthy babies. The tech helping heartbroken couples finally have a family? That's remarkable. But AI scoring embryos on viability is one small step from AI scoring them on things like intelligence, height, eye color. The question isn't if that conversation is coming, it's when. And yes, technically, these are the world's first kids born with a 5-star rating. Get my newsletter at getkim.com. Every business owner I talk to asks the same question. How do I make AI work for me? Not someday, today. Sitting on the sidelines is not an option. Your competitors aren't waiting. NetSuite by Oracle is the #1 AI cloud ERP, trusted by over 43,000 businesses. It pulls your financials, inventory, commerce, HR, and CRM into one system. When everything lives in one place, your AI knows your business. It doesn't guess, it knows. You make decisions based on the data and AI, not on your gut. You get alerted to red flags before they turn into problems and make fast, confident decisions that move the needle. How do I know? I'm bringing NetSuite into my business right now. From software and IT services to healthcare, equipment manufacturing, financial services, and many other great American industries, NetSuite delivers a customized solution for your business. If your revenues are at least 7 figures, get NetSuite's free business guide, Demystifying AI, right now. It's free to you at netsuite.com/Kim. That's netsuite.com/Kim, netsuite.com/Kim.
John Tesh, and coming up, we're going to help you unlock the life-changing power of having more mental energy. These strategies come from Julian Hayes, author of the book Body Architect. Next in today's Intelligence for Your Life Minute.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce, spruce, spruce.
It's spruce, the weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people, pets, and bees when used as directed. Spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour, and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Spruce, pet friendly, weed deadly. Find wherever weed killers are sold.
All right, get ready to have more mental energy for the things that are important to you. When we're mentally drained, we're easily stressed, right? So try these strategies for boosting your mental energy from Julian Hayes, author of the book Body Architect. First, identify your top energy drains. Do you have a friend who constantly complains? Does the news make you anxious? Find ways to avoid these situations that deplete you until you've completed more important tasks that require your full focus. Also, prioritize essential tasks, meaning the ones that move your life forward. Hayes says a lot of us fill our days with unimportant things because the big ones can feel daunting, but each of those low priority tasks burns mental energy. So instead of attempting to conquer every task, identify the 3 big items that will move you forward the most and prioritize those. I'm John Tesh with today's Intelligence for Your Life Minute.
Today on the Todd Ortloff Show, Clallam County prosecuting attorney Mark Nichols discusses some proposed changes to bail practices, the plight of toxicology and drug testing in Washington, and a staffing update. We also talk to Volunteer Hospice of Clallam County about death with dignity.
Join us at 1 o'clock Monday through Thursday for the Todd Ortloff Show on KONP. Information to keep you engaged in your community with the people and organizations who keep it running. Sponsored by Dan Shappy, Farmers Insurance.
Olympic Hot Tub has more ways than ever to achieve total wellness at home. Immerse yourself in a saltwater hot spring spa and let jets melt stress away. Enjoy a refreshing swim in an endless pool swim spa. Retreat to healing warmth and detox in a Tilo sauna. Then awaken mind and body with a cold plunge. You'll be saying, ah, in no time. Your path to wellness starts today at Olympic Hot Tub. Current specials with exciting savings at olympichottub.com. Better you, better life.
The North Olympic Peninsula's news station. News Radio KONP Port Angeles Squim. AM 1450, FM 101.7 and 101.3. A Radio Pacific station.
From ABC News. I'm Mike Dubusky. Right now, police in San Diego are responding to an active shooter situation at a local Islamic center, with the department calling the scene active but contained.
Multiple victims. Shooters are not in custody.
PD continues to have an increased presence.
That sound from Broadcastify. San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria posting on social media that he's receiving updates from law enforcement. California Governor Gavin Newsom has also been briefed on the situation. President Trump now says serious discussions are taking place with Iran and is calling off strikes on the country that had been planned for tomorrow. More from ABC's James Longman.
What Donald Trump seems to want is an agreement now that not only will Iran open the Strait of Hormuz, but it also agree to his nuclear demands. And that is to say, and we understand, and it was clear last week, the president believes that Iran's commitment to stopping enriching uranium for a period of 20 years is something that he wants and he would accept in any deal. But the Iranians don't want to get there. They want to talk about Hormuz first. So we're seeing Iran and the United States come at this from two different directions.
President Trump earlier today announced he's dropping his lawsuit against the IRS. As part of the settlement, the Department of Justice will create a fund of taxpayer dollars to finance payments to people who claim to have been victimized by the government. An American who'd been working for the Democratic Republic of the Congo has tested positive for Ebola. Dr. Satish Pillai is the CDC's incident manager for Ebola response.
CDC has been working hand in hand with the Department of State to move the American for treatment and care to Germany and other high-risk contacts to Germany for monitoring.
The World Health Organization calls the Ebola outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. There are currently 88 suspected deaths from the virus. And a jury in California has tossed out Elon Musk's lawsuit against OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. You're listening to ABC News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-970-3355. That's 800-970-3355. 800-970-3355.
Certain evidence collected when police arrested Luigi Mangione several years ago in the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson will be admissible at trial, a judge ruled today. It includes the suspected murder weapon and a journal of Mangione's writings. A downed pilot on a snow-covered mountain in Elko County, Nevada, can thank his iPhone for his rescue. ABC's Alex Stone.
It was an iPhone automatic crash notification that came into the Elko County, Nevada Sheriff's Department reporting a crash over 10,000 feet high up on a mountain in the East Humboldt mountain range on Sunday. First responders began racing that way, learning there was a plane down with one person on board in an extremely remote area. Dense cloud cover made rescue from the air impossible, so the rescuers hiked in above the snow line. Once there, the skies cleared enough to get a helicopter in, and the pilot was hoisted to safety. The pilot is now recovering, the iPhone's automatic crash notification being the lifeline. Alex Stone, ABC News.
The world's largest operator of cryptocurrency kiosks is being forced to shut down. ABC's Jim Ryan.
It starts with a text or phone call, someone posing as a bank employee telling the recipient they need to withdraw all of their money and feed it into a crypto kiosk. Bitcoin Depot, the largest network of Bitcoin ATMs, says it's tried to enhance the security of its machines, but that the bad press generated by scammers has made its business model unworkable.
And Shakira has been acquitted in the tax fraud case brought against her in Spain. Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
Enjoy all the colors of the season with help from Airport Garden Center. It's a great time to refresh your garden beds and build those hanging baskets. It's true, quality plants start with quality soil, and right now at Airport Garden Center, buy 3 bags of soil and get the 4th bag free. Choose from G&B Organic Standard Planting Mix or Harvest Supreme and boost your bloom. Standard Planting Mix is great for in-ground planting projects, including planting, amending, mulching, or or seed cover, while G&B Harvest Supreme improves a variety of soils for vegetable gardens or flower beds. Choose quality soil from Airport Garden Center and save with a buy 3 get 1 free sale on now. Come in and save on bags of G&B organic soil, plus our garden experts can help jumpstart your garden bloom with free advice. Airport Garden Center, planting knowledge, growing gardeners since 1977.
KONP News brought to you by RE/MAX Evergreen Real Estate. Outstanding agents, outstanding results. 457-6600. Peninsula College cutting 3 instructional programs and pausing 2 others. It's part of ongoing budget reductions. Beginning next school year, the college will discontinue administrative office systems, paralegal and multimedia programs, while automotive service technician and family life education will be paused. President Susie Ames says rising costs and state funding pressures are driving the changes. Also furloughs for many of Peninsula College's employees beginning this summer. And the 37th annual Great Olympic Peninsula Duck Derby finished up on Sunday. Walter Trial won the top prize, the new Corolla from Wilder Auto.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast, brought to you by Olympic Game Farm. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 61. Winds out of the northwest, 10 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies again tonight, lows level off around 46. Daytime highs approaching 60 tomorrow. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times and dry. Wednesday and Thursday, mid-60s. Wednesday, upper 60s by Thursday. A peak at the extended shows, 67 Friday, 65 Saturday, and 62 on Sunday. That's a look at your forecast. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently, it's 57 degrees.
It's the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP. Now, here's Todd.
All right, welcome to the show. Lots to cover today. In the first half, we're going to be spending it with Clallam County Prosecuting Attorney Mark Nichols. Mark comes in about once a month or so, and we chat about some things that are affecting law and justice, his office, all of that here locally. Mark, good to see you again.
Great to be here. Thank you, Todd.
We're going to bounce around a few things. One right out of the gate is something I had done an interview a few weeks ago, about a couple of weeks before the deadline for comments on this, was a proposal that was before the Supreme Court, basically a committee there, that was to change bail practices and essentially becoming kind of a no-bail state in a lot of ways. I know you kind of wanted to talk a bit about this, and I'd be curious to see from a current sitting prosecutor what your thoughts are about this proposal. No final decision has been made yet, but it certainly is looming now.
It is indeed. It's pending before the Washington State Supreme Court, as you indicated. The comment period closed April 30th, and we were able to get written comments submitted into the record. I'll make sure that I speak to what those recommendations were before we're done. For purposes of today, however, just as a continued effort to try to keep people abreast of what's occurring within the criminal justice system at the statewide level, I thought it would be helpful to touch on this topic because bail is one of those things I am asked about constantly, and for very good reason. We've all heard about it. We've seen it play out on television and TV shows. There's more to it than most people understand, however. And so before getting to the proposal that's pending before the state Supreme Court, I thought I'd just speak through the basics regarding bail just as a refresher to everyone. And so the criminal justice system in Washington state operates according to rules that allow an accused person to either be held in jail or released on conditions pending trial. Being held in jail means a judge imposes bail and the person is held in jail unless and until they're able to post out. Being released on conditions includes having conditions imposed upon you that do things like prohibiting the accused from going to certain places or having contact with certain persons or possessing certain items such as dangerous weapons or alcohol or using drugs, for example. Unbeknownst to many, the system operates according to a presumption of release. And so when a person is charged with a crime and they appear in court, the presumption is that they're going to be released on conditions short of the need to have bail imposed unless and only unless the burden is overcome, the presumption that is overcome, in which case the judge can impose bail. But there are precious few considerations that the court can really look at in determining whether to impose bail on the one hand, and if so, in what amount as a secondary consideration. And so for years in Washington state, trial courts have had the ability to consider three factors by and large when deciding whether to impose bail. On the one hand, they'll look at whether there's a likelihood that an accused will fail to appear in court when they're directed to do so. And that's fairly straightforward from a common sense standpoint. The question is, are you going to show up if you're directed and ordered to do so? If the individual has no prior history of failing to appear, if they have local ties within the community, perhaps if a family member or friend shows up and vouches for them to the court, chances are the judge is probably going to release them on conditions with a directive that they come back to court. However, if they have a lengthy history of failing to appear, with warrants having been issued in connection with past criminal cases or current cases that are pending through the system, prosecutors will oftentimes point to that failure to appear history under the theory that the recent past is a pretty good indication of what the immediate future may hold. And this individual has a demonstrated track record of disregarding direct orders of the court to appear here. It's not discretionary, of course. It's a court order. Separate and distinct from the failure to appear consideration, courts can look at whether an accused presents a substantial danger of committing a violent crime in the community. And so generally when we're charging people with violent offenses, Class A and B felonies, for example, assault, those sorts of things, the nature of allegations before the court itself can be quite troubling and concerning, and that concern can be amplified if, for example, the state is able to point out that the crime was perpetrated against a complete stranger, not an individual person with whom there's some personal animus or history. The randomness of it could, in and of itself, reasonably concern a judge to the point of believing that there are no conditions that can be imposed that would satisfactorily ensure the safety of the community. And so for that reason, bail is in order. And then the third area where courts have traditionally had latitude and discretion is to impose bail if there's a substantial danger that the accused will intimidate witnesses or otherwise interfere with the administration of justice. And so this is where I'd like to transition the conversation and talk about not only the proposal to change the rule moving forward, but also to touch on a change that was already made in December of 2025.
So let's talk about the change that's already there, and then we'll talk about what would be next.
Yes. And so what changed in December of 2025 in response to a proposal brought forward by a number of defense organizations who made a proposed rule change to the state Supreme Court, which it decided to go ahead and make, is that the traditional prong which allowed for prosecutors to argue that a likelihood of an individual interfering with the administration of justice was a consideration upon which a judge could go ahead and find that bail was appropriate, was removed essentially. And so instead it was replaced, and now courts can only consider whether an accused will seek to intimidate or threaten a witness, victim, or court employee, or tamper with evidence, for example. Previously, prosecutors could argue things such as an individual's noncompliance with prior court orders could serve as evidence of intent to interfere with the administration of justice. We could point to a person's failure to appear history in a previous criminal prosecution and argue that constant failure to appear slowed down the justice process in a way that interfered with the administration of justice. And so we had the ability to make those sorts of arguments. The court took that away, and again, now we really need to focus more on present sense concerns regarding direct threats to tamper with a witness or interfere with a crime victim, for example.
So with that said, has that and then we'll get to what the next proposal might be. Has that changed then, the way that your prosecutors can ask for bail in cases? I would think it would.
It did.
Yeah.
And so,
like, maybe you can't even in some cases.
Well, we can't make those arguments anymore. And so because the rule has changed, that's no longer an appropriate basis for a court to consider.
Mm-hmm.
And by implication, it's really no longer an appropriate argument for prosecutors to make. And so we'll still argue and point out if we have a concern over witness tampering occurring and those sorts of things. However, we're required to be more tailored in our arguments and to focus more on what I will characterize as present concerns as compared to concerns over past conduct bearing on a likelihood to interfere with the administration of justice.
All right, so with that said, this latest proposal goes even farther because the way I understand it is that pretty much everybody's going to be, I'm going to say PR'd, but they're going to get, the bar is very, very high to get bail. I'll just put it this way. And most people are going to have to be, arrested on a warrant if they don't appear.
Yes and no. And so I think this is where it's helpful to have some greater conversation. At present, the Washington State Supreme Court is considering a second round of proposed amendments to the same court rule that it already revised in December in the manner just described. And the current proposal would do a couple of key things. Number one, it would replace the current standard of likely failure to appear, which I just spoke to, instead with a high likelihood of willful flight from prosecution. And so the difference here is that in the past, if the rule goes through, in the past, and up until right now still, I've been able to argue that the defendant, the accused, has maybe a dozen failure to appear warrants over the last 24 months. These are recent in time, Your Honor. The state takes the position that they have a demonstrated track record of disregarding the orders of the court and appearing when they are ordered to do so. And in support of that argument, I'm referring to what's happened over the preceding couple of years. If the proposal goes through, I would not be able to point to failure to appear history in a vacuum and make the same argument, because what it's really not doing is addressing the willful flight prong, which would require me to somehow persuade the judge that the reason for which an accused is not present is because they made a conscious decision to not be there that day. And that's challenging because I don't know, practically speaking.
You're not reading minds, right?
I can't read minds. I don't know whether an individual may have experienced transportation problems, whether they had a medical emergency, if there's a memory deficit issue, if they just forgot. And so I would have to completely guess in order to make an argument. And that's something that I'm not willing to do. It's also going to undermine my credibility were I to do so.
So that hinders that entire argument of in that prong, basically, if I understand you right.
It does. It renders it largely meaningless, and I'll come back to that with respect to the comments that we submitted to the state Supreme Court before the comment window closed. The second thing that the proposal would do would enact a $200 cap on bond and warrant amounts for most misdemeanor offenses, with a few exceptions. And the exceptions are notable. They include domestic violence offenses. So assault for with a domestic violence tag would be one example. Malicious mischief with a domestic violence tag. Also excluded are driving under the influence charges. And so those are more dangerous misdemeanor level offenses, and so it makes sense that they've been excluded. But practically speaking, under the rule, if it passes, this $200 cap on bail or bond would be enacted, and in circumstances where a court found that there was a willful flight showing, such that the court became persuaded that an individual was not going to show up in court, and it was not one of the excluded categories of offenses I've just spoken to, then the judge would be limited in imposing $200 bail, which translates into a $20 bond. And so it's not a particularly meaningful sum of money for many. It's something that can be afforded and result in a person who's held in jail on bail being released based upon the posting of a fairly nominal bond.
Yeah, and I'm going to just say at $200, jumping that bond is probably going to cross a lot of people's mind anyway, because that's not a lot of money you're forfeiting there. I mean, you're giving up to $20.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the concerns that we brought forward.
Mm-hmm.
When I say we, I refer to the Washington Association of Prosecuting Attorneys. Each of the 39 counties has an elected prosecutor. We have a group known as WAPA. And so we submitted a comprehensive comment letter to the state Supreme Court before the comment window closed. And our arguments were multiple-fold. On the one hand, we explained that the proposal really creates an unworkable standard in that a prosecutor will rarely know why a defendant did not appear. And because we can't know why, it's almost impossible for us to argue that there was a willful component to a willful flight component occurring in relation to the non-appearance in court. We also touched on our belief that the $20 figure is insufficient to ensure the appearance of a person who willfully flees from prosecution. Further, that it's likely that this change, if adopted, will result in more people being able to bail out. And then, at least statistically, we anticipate seeing more people not appearing. There's going to be more failure to appear warrants, and it's going to increase what some people refer to as the catch and release quotient that operates in relation to folks coming in and out of the criminal justice system.
And that's a comment I know the sheriff made in his comments written to the sheriffs have said, well, this is going to tie us up potentially with serving these, what could be a surge in warrant failure to appear warrants.
Yes.
Instead
and so
of
there's
doing real, I don't want to call it real police work, is that's part of it, but you know what I mean.
Yes, yeah. It would push a system that's already reactionary to be even more reactionary, and we're trying to move into a direction of becoming more proactive is one of the major concerns that I've certainly heard from law enforcement leadership. We also pointed out that the exceptions to the bail cap overlook other crimes that pose a real risk to community safety. And so as an example, while the proponents of the rule change identified that domestic violence and DUI crimes would be exempted, they didn't make any reference to attempted Class C felonies, which include things like attempted child molestation in the third degree, attempted child luring. These are all classified as gross misdemeanors by virtue of the fact that they're an attempt under law, and so they would fall subject to the $200 cap and the $20 figure to be able to post out.
And people hear that. That's rather heinous. I mean, people hear that type of a crime and they think they're going, I think that should be more than $20.
Yes, that's certainly the feedback that I've heard, and I think that the public safety concern, I think, is at a level that warrants hopefully the high court to consider whether something's missing in the proposal that needs to be threaded in. The last two things that we touched on include that the data brought forward in support of the proposal is not Washington state specific. And this was interesting to me because it was frankly the same defense groups that brought forward the proposed revisions to the indigent defense caseload standards that we've talked so much about, which were predicated on non-state specific data. The same tact is being employed here. And so we commented that it would be wiser to look at Washington state specific data. And then last but not least, we highlighted a process concern, which involves that under General Rule 9, which is adopted by the state Supreme Court, notice was supposed to go out to a number of key stakeholders to solicit their input, and the notice never went out. So WAPA learned about this through the rumor mill, as it were, and we went ahead and submitted our comment for that reason.
That's actually quite striking to hear that.
some of the groups that are required to receive notice include the Superior Court Judges Association at the statewide level, the District Court Judges Association, I think the Chief Justice for the Court of Appeals. So pretty significant interests, and our interest is in making sure that the rules are followed by all, and that interest is solicited and comment so that the High Court can have on balance, input from folks along the spectrum before making up its mind.
How long do you think it'll be before a decision on this comes out? And I guess there's a possibility it could get totally reworked again. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen, but...
Yes, to the best of my knowledge, there is no timeline within which the High Court must act. And so historically, what we've seen is the court take these matters under advisement. I think they're referred to the Rules Committee, which looks at the substance of the proposal. Ostensibly, they could accept the proposal outright, and the High Court could implement the changes in total. They could reject the proposed rule outright, or they could send it back to the Rules Committee for some refinement and polishing, and they could take a much closer look at some of the substantive changes that are being proposed. And so, as with the indigent defense caseload standards, we're gonna learn together what comes out of this process. For now, I wanted to make sure that people were tracking that there's an effort afoot to reform bail practice at some level in the ways described. And for some that I've spoken with, they've been proponents of a number of these changes. And for other people I've spoken with, they have been quite concerned. And so on balance, as usual, people's opinions fall along a spectrum, regardless of where your opinion is. I think most important is that folks know about this.
Felony court level, is that changing anything? We talked mostly about gross misdemeanors, but...
Yes, and that's an important point you raised. So these changes would be largely, with respect to the $200 cap in relation to misdemeanor level offenses. The change that would impact felony practice is in relation to the willful flight piece.
Okay, so that can creep into the Superior Court.
It can, and I expect that it would if the rule is adopted.
All right. Wait and see. We'll stand by, as we say in my business. All right, let's talk a little update on kind of the, as you put in the notes here, plight of the state crime lab.
Yes.
Are we any better or any worse than the last time we talked about this as far as backup goes and how that's impacting investigations?
We are a little better in a couple ways that I'll speak to, although overall, from a statewide standpoint, we are in a challenging position, and I think that's a charitable characterization. I reached out to the folks at the State Toxicology and Crime Lab last month to get an update on where things stood. They track data and report a quarter or two behind, just depending, and so they furnished me data from the end of 2025, so conclusion of fourth quarter. And for the toxicology lab, which is responsible for testing blood samples that are sent to it for the presence of alcohol or drugs, the statewide backlog was roughly 16,700 cases at the end of 2025. The median turnaround times were remaining relatively steady for impaired driving cases, and so about 10 months for alcohol-only testing and about 20 months for more complex cases. That actually does represent an improvement, because in about a year prior I'd asked, and they gave me a 12 to 22 month median turnaround time. So they were able to shave off a couple of months, which on balance is good. Shifting gears for the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab Division, which is where they conduct materials analysis testing. So testing of white powder suspected to be methamphetamine, for example. The statewide backlog is 1,200 cases. The average turnaround time was about 40 days with a median of 35 days. The good thing for Clallam County is that the Marysville Crime Lab, which serves Clallam County, was sitting at about 131 cases with an average turnaround time of 22 days and a median of 20 days. And so that sped up. About a year ago, I think the number was closer to 30 days. So they've been able to knock that down by a third. That's largely due to some additional staffing that they've been able to add and get trained up. So those are positive things that are starting to occur. The challenge, and the reason I wanted to highlight this, is because there was a substitute House Bill 5880 concerning toxicology testing that made its way through the legislature this past session. It did pass, and the bill expressly authorized local governments to have testing occur through private labs that met accreditation and certification standards. Practically speaking, we've always been able to do that. So the legislature has told us you can do what you've been able to do all the way along. And that was an interesting exercise. There was no appropriation that came with this, and that's really where the rubber hits the road. And
which is why you weren't doing it in the first place most of the time, right?
Correct.
It's a budget thing. It's a cost thing. Cost prohibitive.
It is. And so to give you a sense of why it's such a cost prohibitive undertaking, as I've reached out to counterparts around the state who have gone the distance to send samples to private labs that met accreditation requirements, and where cases have gone to trial, the overall price tag, by the time you factor in all the testing, the chain of custody, flying or driving your experts out, paying them hourly, putting them up overnight in a hotel if it's a multi-day trial, it's come out to be in excess of $10,000 per test.
Wow.
And so Clallam County, I just tallied our results last week, and between our toxicology backlog on the one hand and our materials analysis or drug testing backlog on the other, we're just shy of 200 cases. And so
do the math.
Right. We don't have that sort of money available to us right now, nor do I think do many local governments. And so practically speaking, I think the takeaway is that the legislature took some action in relation to the toxicology backlog. However, it's not an action that's going to solve the problem absent an appropriation. It simply transferred the financial responsibility to a local government, if it wants to assume it, to fix the problem in relation to cases born out of their own jurisdiction.
And as you pointed out, something you could have already done in the first place, but we won't go any farther on that.
Correct.
The legislature never ceases to amaze. All right, real quick, before we run out of time here, I want to get a couple of staffing change updates that are happening in your office.
Yes, and so a bit more good news, because again, as challenging as the Tox Lab situation is in the state, there has been some improvement there. And then my hat's off to the folks at the Tox Lab who are training, bringing on new talent, and helping to solve that crisis. Locally, of good news is that we've got 2 attorneys starting. It's been quite some time in coming to find quality new hires who check the boxes. And so we've got 2 attorneys starting in our criminal division, one on or about July, I think, 14th or so, the other September 1st. They both come packaged with quite a bit of trial experience, a number of years practicing in criminal law. And so that will make a huge difference in relation to our ability to staff and keep pace with demand in the criminal courts. And so I wanted to share that with the listenership so folks know that. It has been the case for years that there's been a staffing shortage. Interestingly, neither of these new hires are coming to us from Washington State. They're transplanting from other states coming here. Yes, and so maybe they're coming from states where they're not experiencing the same bar attorney shortage that we are here in Washington.
Yeah. So that's good news. I mean, you've not been fully staffed for an extended period of time for a while. I mean, you've gotten there and then it's gone away and gotten there and gone away, right?
Yes, yeah. We've been advertising really for the better part of 3 or 4 years in total. And so with these 2 new hires, we'll be pretty close to being fully staffed. And that will be helpful with respect to turnaround times, management of volume, and everything else that comes with it from a safety standpoint.
All right. Mark Nichols, always great to talk to you. Thanks for stopping by.
My pleasure. Thank you, Tom.
All right. We chat with Mark about every month here about things going on with the prosecutor's office, and we're going to take a break, talk a little bit about death with dignity when we come back after this.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP.
Have you ever clicked get a quote online and suddenly your phone acts like it owes someone money? 20 calls a day, numbers you've never seen, and not one of them local? I'm Dan Shappy with Farmers Insurance. If you're tired of mystery callers trying to sell you insurance, try something different. Talk directly to a real local agent who actually lives here. No robocalls, no strangers. We are real people helping real people right here at home.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Hello, this is Katie McCormick with Squim Valley and Harper Ridgeview Funeral Chapels. I'd like to take a moment to tell you about a new, exciting, and environmentally friendly development in the funeral industry. It's called natural organic reduction, or terramation. Perhaps you've heard of it. Terramation is a process in which the body, after death, is returned to the earth in a carbon-neutral, eco-friendly manner. The process takes place in a controlled environment, and all that remains is a natural, odorless, compost-like material. If you would like more information about terramation and advanced planning, call us today at Harper Ridgeview in Port Angeles or Squim Valley Chapel in Squim, and one of our knowledgeable and caring funeral professionals will assist you in answering your questions. Harper Ridgeview and Squim Valley Funeral Chapels, because your loved ones deserve the best.
Hey everybody, Todd here at Price Ford. And backed by popular demand, Ford has come out with the employee pricing for everyone. And I'm not talking about what I would pay as an employee. I'm talking about what the corporate employees pay. You can't buy a new Ford for less money. This offer covers almost every vehicle in the Ford lineup. So if you're in the market for a new Ford, hurry down to Price Ford right on Highway 101, right next to Walmart in Port Angeles, and we'll have a vehicle waiting for you.
Todd Ortloff now with a word for Olympic Peninsula title. They don't just have customers, they have raving fans. Yeah, for over 40 years, they've been earning the repeat business of their customers by treating them with respect, delivering what they promise, prioritizing the security of customers' funds and information, and always providing service with a smile. When it's time to choose a title company to close your transaction, opt for Olympic Peninsula Title and see for yourself why they've earned over 500 five-star reviews, and they've been voted best title company in Clallam County over and over again. Whether you're a homeowner, investor, or first-time buyer, understanding our market is essential. Here to provide a little insight on the local real estate market is May Graves.
Hi, May Graves here, realtor in the Squim and Port Angeles area. How do realtors determine what buyers will potentially pay for your home? We use a variety of methods. One is called a CMA, or comparative market analysis, where we compare similar homes that were recently sold that are similar in age, size, location, and condition. We also consider things like seasonality and supply and demand. If your neighborhood usually sells 2 to 3 homes per month and there are 10 on the market, you can see how prices may have to come down. The opposite is true. If your neighborhood typically sells 2 to 3 homes per month and there are none on the market, you're in a great position to sell for top dollar in a hurry. If you want more information, call me, May Graves, 360-461-1922.
Once a quarter, we talk with our friends at Volunteer Hospice of Clallam County, and we're going to be talking about something that I guess you might call controversial in some ways, depending on who you're talking to, but we thought it would be good to enlighten and inform a bit about death with dignity, or medical aid in dying in our state. Got a couple of guests we're familiar with. We welcome Jeanette Stair Green back again. Jeanette helps organize these, so I'll probably go to you first in just a minute. So anyway, and we also have the executive director for Volunteer Hospice of Clallam County, Priya Jayadev. Priya, good to see you again as well. Thanks for stopping in.
Thanks for having us.
And you've brought along probably the main guest today, and that's Cassandra Sutherland, who is the co-executive director of Programs and Services for End of Life Washington. So, Cassandra, good to see you. Thanks for stopping in.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to learn a bit about your organization as well in just a bit. First, let's go over to Jeanette and just a bit about this. You had approached us and said, "Do you think we ought to do this?" And I said, "Yeah, I think we should talk about this."
Well, and as many of our programs are set on topics that are of personal interest to me, this is no different. And it's a case scenario of a good friend, an elderly person in our lives who is just an incredible person, a model of graceful aging, had her ups and downs, but was really doing well at an advanced age, living independently, living a full life. And about a year ago, she was diagnosed with cancer of the blood and would need to take pretty heavy-duty medications to try to treat that. And she tried valiantly, and it just wasn't working for her. And she goes, I've had a full life. I am at peace with dying. Let's just stop the treatments. And of course, everybody respected that. And then she found out without having treatments, she was at very high risk for having a stroke. And this woman, if you knew her, the one thing is she did not want to be a burden to anyone else. She wanted to live independently and have control of her life. And when she heard that a stroke was a likely possibility, she really got upset because she's like, I don't want to get treated, but if I have a stroke, then I'm going to be a burden. And she came to me asking about death with dignity, thinking because I was part of hospice that maybe I would have knowledge of that. And I found that I didn't know a lot about it. And that's kind of the genesis of today, of let's talk about it so people know what they're agreeing to or disagreeing about, and know the steps. And just really delighted to have Cassandra here today to lead that discussion.
All right. Thank you for organizing that. Priya, I'll go over to you next. Just a bit about, how hospice fits into this, because a lot of people will say, well, okay, end of life stuff, I get that. But usually it's I'll call it a quote unquote natural death you're tending to.
Yeah. So Cassandra will talk about this more. It depends on which hospice you're talking about. Mm-hmm. With volunteer hospice specifically, we don't support the process of death with dignity MAID, but we do support the patient as we normally would in any hospice palliative situation. So we don't get engaged with the mixing of medications. We are there, however, to care for the patient with regards to their hospice needs, their palliative needs. So we still manage comfort and support all the things that they need, independent of the ingestion of medication.
And I'm going to just jump ahead here and say that your typical case probably is someone that may already have been in hospice in a whole different state of affairs and has come to this decision
sometimes
later.
Yes, and sometimes the patient hasn't been in hospice and they engage in hospice because they are going to choose this option. Okay. Yeah. So we're there to support them with their hospice journey, their end-of-life journey, and then with regards to advising and helping, we send them to End-of-Life Washington.
There we go. Perfect segue over to Cassandra to talk a bit about her group. First of all, End-of-Life Washington, what fill us in on this. We do lots of PSAs about you coming to town to do seminars about stuff you should prepare for end of life and stuff. It's not just about death with dignity, although that is part of what you deal with.
We're an organization. We're a completely nonprofit organization. We've been around in some form of another for over 30 years in Washington State, and we help people with education about their options at end of life, be it pursue full treatment, stop treatment, choose medical aid in dying. We also do advocacy work. We were the group that helped pass this law back in 2008 because of a voter initiative, so we're excited to always be involved in access and advocacy work. And we also do direct services, so we support people with advanced care planning, but then also people accessing medical aid in dying. And we do this mostly because of 150 volunteers across the state that dedicate themselves to this work.
Okay, so same question. Let's talk about the hospice piece to this. Maybe you can enlighten us further as to the group that actually will interface with someone who's maybe making this decision.
Yeah, 90% of people who take aid in dying medications are on hospice. Hospice is a key part of this process because hospice care is so important when it comes to end of life. Of course, there is some overlap in the sense that to be eligible for medical aid in dying, you also have to have a 6-month prognosis. So people who are eligible for medical aid in dying are often eligible for a hospice. It goes hand in hand.
So that leads me into, let's talk about what the rules are, how this law works as well. There's one right there.
Yeah.
You have to have 6 months or less a diagnosis at least.
You have to be over 18. You have to be an adult. You have to be a resident of Washington State. You have to have decision-making capacity throughout the entirety of the process, and we can talk more about that one. Yeah. You have to have a terminal illness. You have to have a 6-month prognosis, and you have to be able to self-administer the medications.
Let's talk about that, because yes, you set this up, you have to take it yourself, though.
Yes.
Even though it's assisted, it's only to the point of here this will do this, but we're not doing it to you.
Yeah, all of the laws within the United States are very clear that somebody cannot have assistance in administering these medications. So I could hold a cup for somebody, but they have to drink it out of a straw. They have to take the action to do this themselves. That's why it's called medical aid in dying. They can have the prescription, but it's their own action that is actually ingesting the medications.
How many people what's the stats in Washington now of folks who are doing this?
Yeah, so we have the state statistics. The last report they gave was in 2024. And in that report, 491 people in the state of Washington took aid in dying medications. That's like less than 1% of our total deaths in the state of Washington. So it's a really small portion of people that actually take the medications.
Take me through kind of a case study, how people come to that decision. Because I think that a lot of us, we're not thinking about that, right? How does someone arrive to where they're going to talk to you and say, I think I want to do this?
Yeah. I think it's really different for so many people. Sometimes their providers bring it up to them. Sometimes a friend brings it up to them. Sometimes their hospice brings it up to them. Sometimes they find us in a Google search. Either way, they usually call us or reach out to somebody who in our organization. And the process is quite arduous. It's a lot of steps. They have to be ineligible of all of those ways, and then they have to make 2 oral requests with a 7-day waiting period between them. They have to do a witness written request, and they have to have 2 independent qualified providers assess them and deem them eligible, give them other options, and talk them through that they can change their mind at any time. And after those visits, then they can have access to a prescription if all of those things.
It's a very high bar. There's quite a bit there that you have to go through. When you providers, a doctor would be one. Who do you have to find to give you your prognosis?
Yeah, so End of Life Washington won't give you a prognosis. Folks who come to us already have a 6-month or less prognosis from either their oncologist, their primary care provider, their cardiologist, whomever they're seeing. At End of Life Washington, we do have voluntary providers that will support people, but they have to be an MD, a DO, an ANRP, or a PA are the 4 people that are considered qualified providers for medical aid in dying in Washington State.
So if somebody contacts you at the front end of this, you're going to send them away originally probably because I would think they may not have all of the things that you require they have in place before you fully engaged. Am I reading that right?
So we always, when somebody calls us, even if they're not eligible for aid in dying yet, we try to provide them with resources or next steps. Sometimes it's just do your advanced care planning now and be prepared for these conversations. Talk to your providers now, talk to your loved ones now about what you want at the end of your life. And when someone does meet those eligibility requirements, then they submit a request for support with End of Life Washington, and they're assigned a volunteer in a regional team, and then the volunteer will walk them through the whole aid in dying process and support them up until the day they choose to take their meds, if they do.
Okay, let's talk about cost. Some of that as well. It's a medical procedure, more or less, so how is it paid for?
If folks are working with End of Life Washington, all of our services are free of charge to clients. We do not charge for any of our support or services. Okay. If somebody is on a hospice that offers medical aid in dying services, their hospice is also covering those costs. The one cost that is really not covered by insurance is the cost of the prescription itself. The cost of the prescription is around $600 to $900. Very few insurances will cover it. Most folks are able to come up with this money, or there is a nonprofit in our state that through End of Life Washington we can apply to on somebody's behalf and have those medications covered.
All right, let's talk about that process at the end of life. They've gotten to this whole thing. They have decided this is the day.
Yeah.
What is it? What happens?
So I always say people are just considering aid in dying all the way up until they take their medications. We remind clients all the time that they can change their mind until they take those aid in dying medications, and then they've made their decision. On that day of, it is totally up to that person. We have had really intimate affairs with just one individual and a few loved ones. We've had big parties with mariachi bands and celebrations and hundreds of people. Sometimes they make t-shirts. Sometimes they choose what music they want played. What happens really is somebody takes a pre-med, which is like an anti-nausea med, and then about an hour later, those aid in dying medications are mixed up. People assume that they're pills. They're not. It's a powdered medication. It's a compounded medication of 5 different substances that you can only get from a compounding pharmacy. There aren't that many in our state that will fill it. And then those powder medications are reconstituted with about 2 ounces of liquid, and somebody is asked to drink that self-administration part, within a minute or 2. And then they fall asleep really quickly, within 5 to 15 minutes, and then death follows within a few hours to multiple hours. We don't know. It's different for each person.
But they lose consciousness. I mean, there's not a struggle, so to speak.
No.
Yeah.
They fall asleep really quickly, really peacefully, and stay out of consciousness in a coma until they die.
All right. Yeah, I've heard about these parties, by the way, that some have had, and I guess that's your choice, right? I think, though, going back to the self-administering part of this, I mean, there comes a point where someone could become maybe too far deteriorated that they can't self-administer. I mean, that's a reality?
That is a reality. Yeah. There's kind of 2 realities in this. One is the decision-making capacity. What I want to say is this excludes most people with dementia, unless somebody has dementia and maybe terminal cancer at the same time and has early dementia, so they still have decision-making capacity but qualify with their cancer. Somebody who's in late stages of dementia does not qualify to use aid in dying, and that's a big portion of folks who want access and can't get it.
I was going to say, I would think that would probably, and it's going to limit a lot of people that might want to do this. Since this has been in place, I mean, I've noticed that I think the vitriol that goes around with it has maybe, I'm not going to say subsided. Some people are very much against this, but I don't hear people as adamantly upset about it.
Yeah. Well, this county voted for it with 60% of your voters approving it back in 2008, which was higher than the state average. So here, I think a lot of people are more open to the conversation. And I get folks who say, I didn't vote for this, but it wasn't until I was seeing my parents die or I was terminal myself that I started to realize I really wanted choice, information, and agency. And so I'm now considering this as an option. And like I said, you're only considering it until you take it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And I think the track record of these individuals having gone through it, now we're at 18 years, whatever, and there hasn't been abuse of this process. And I think community at large, I think I saw some numbers like 69 to 70% of Washingtonians now support this. So I think the tides have turned for sure.
Priya, it's an interesting ethical dilemma, I guess, in some sense, right?
It is, and what Cassandra said is absolutely accurate. We have had patients on our caseload who have gotten the medications just in case. And there's a lifespan, I think, is it 6 months, that you can maintain them before you need to order a new batch type of
That's
thing.
Good point. I was going to say, what if somebody, wait a minute, and has maybe not quite a full second thought, but half of a second thought.
Exactly. Okay. And sometimes patients have let those medications go through expiry. So it is, again, it's a choice up until ingestion. It is truly that piece of agency, right? That patient owns that piece of decision making. And so in that ethical piece, we don't have a social worker on staff. So that's where End of Life Washington really needs to be a partner with us. Unlike most hospices, which have all of these disciplines that can guide and may even have a prescriber that can guide. We don't have some of that. So to us, we're just partners in this journey, and End of Life Washington is our partner for this part.
So if you have a patient that brings this up, you're going to direct them to Cassandra.
Directly to End of Life Washington.
From what I understand, it's like we'll be here to support you in whatever decision, but we're not the administering, we're not doing any of that part.
Correct. And there are local representatives, volunteers with End of Life Washington that we can send them to, who are wonderful and have helped with a number of our patients in this process.
How have things changed in your view of all of this over the years? It's kind of the same question as what my observations of people and their thoughts about this.
Yeah, so it's interesting because now there's also, films about the process. There's more educational material that you can refer to, and people can kind of get beyond the fear aspect of it, I think, because of some of the more popularized media that depicts this in a positive manner, right? I think that's helped a lot. The other thing is it's not just MAID that's available to a patient in decision making. There's something called voluntary stop eating and drinking. Sure. And if a patient doesn't qualify for MAID, they could always choose, and no one has the right to say that you must eat, you must drink, right? So there are other options even when MAID is not necessarily available, and seeing people go through the voluntary stop eating and drinking and the length of time it takes to go through that and comparing, it's interesting from an observer perspective. It seems like it's an easier process to go through MAID, but I don't know that that's the case. But it just seems like if that's an option, why not, right? It's everyone should have every option.
The voluntary, stop eating.
Yep.
How does hospice deal with that?
Same exact way. We are there to support them in their pain, their comfort, management of all of their symptom pieces, and helping them achieve comfort. It's the same hospice journey, whether you're doing medical assistance in dying, whether you're doing VSED, whether you're doing none of those.
Got it. All right. We're almost we're out of time, actually. A couple of announcements, though. Did you want to pass on a couple of things coming up?
Wanted to make the folks out there aware that we do have a lot of services through Volunteer Hospice of Clallam County, and I really would direct them to go to our website and take a look at all of them. One I'm going to highlight today is the Tea to Die For. These are monthly conversations about topics like we're talking today. We meet in Sequim on the second Mondays of every month from 4 to 5:30 at the KSQM Community Room. And we have two places in Port Angeles, third Thursdays at Studio Bob from 5:30 to 7, and fourth Wednesdays at the Volunteer Hospice Conference Room at 4 in the afternoon. So it's just a great opportunity to come out. We really want people to think about death and dying. It's something we're all going to experience.
I say this every time we have it on. None of us are getting out of here alive, no matter what. So it's probably best to know what's going on, right? All right, Jeanette, great. Thanks for organizing this. It was a good discussion. I learned a lot about this. A few things I didn't even understand about what happens with MAID. And if you give the folks at Cassandra Sutherland's group, End of Life Washington, a call and what they can and can't do in all of this. So Cassandra, good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
And Priya, good to see you as well. Priya Jayadav there, who's the Executive Director at Volunteer Hospice at Clallam County. We're going to take a break and check in with the news. It's coming up next.
This is the Todd Ortloff Show on News Radio KONP.
Hi, it's Dan Shappy with Farmers Insurance. Community matters, and that's why we're proud to support Todd Ortloff and local voices that keep us connected. If you want insurance advice from real neighbors, stop by our office on Peabody Street. Real people helping real people right here at home.
Dan Shappy and Farmers Insurance is proud to sponsor the Todd Ortloff Show every Monday through Thursday at 1 p.m.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Remember the early days of the internet? Yeah. Oli Penn was already there, laying the groundwork for what would become everything internet. Today, Oli Penn is still connecting the Olympic Peninsula to the world, but they're not stopping at blazing fast internet and rock-solid email. They're helping you see what matters most. With advanced security camera systems for your home or business, Oli Penn puts peace of mind right in your pocket. Check in anytime, anywhere from your smartphone. Across town, across the country, doesn't matter. You're always connected, always protected. With crystal clear HD and stunning 4K cameras and custom systems designed to fit your property perfectly, you'll never miss a moment. And the best part? Local, reliable service from people who live right here in your community. Oli Penn. Everything internet. Connecting the Olympic Peninsula to the world. Visit olipenn.com.
This is News Radio KONP.
Hi, it's Callie here from the Heartline on the Truck Route. My family is proud to have been serving our community for 3 generations. If you're tackling a landscape project, rely on the Heartline for all the supplies you need to make your project shine. Rock, mulch, soil to sand, we've got you covered, and your yard too. The Heartline is your connection for high-quality Deca batteries as well. Cars, bikes, commercial, marine, and power sports. Stop by or give us a call at 452-3157. Rely on the Heartline, top of the truck route, Port Angeles.
Your voice, your news. News Radio KONP, Port Angeles Squim. AM 1450, FM 101.7 and 101.3. A Radio Pacific station.
From ABC News, I'm Lindsay Davis, anchor of Prime, streaming weeknights on ABC News Live. 2 suspects in a shooting at an Islamic center in San Diego this afternoon have now been killed, and all the children are safe. ABC's Alex Stone has been speaking with law enforcement sources.
My question was, are there victims? And it was yes, and in the plural, and it was yes. But we don't know any more than that as they are actively working it right now. But everything is now going to begin slowing down because a threat is no longer there. As they have cleared the building, they think this is over and done.
The Trump administration is opening up a more than $1.7 billion fund to pay claims for alleged victims of government weaponization. It's part of a settlement between President Trump and the administration he runs following the leak of his tax returns by an IRS contractor. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy has more from Washington.
The Justice Department says its new anti-weaponization fund will be controlled by a 5-member board appointed by the Attorney General. It's expected to pay out claims to those who experienced what officials call weaponization and lawfare. Democrats say they fear rioters who ransacked the Capitol could now receive taxpayer money. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer calls it depraved.
Even in the worst and most corrupt administrations we've had, we've never seen anything like this.
Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
An American is now tested positive for Ebola after working in the Democratic Republic of Congo. That person has now been transferred to a military base in Germany. ABC News medical correspondent Dr. Darian Sutton has more on how Ebola spreads.
With Ebola infections, they most often spread when someone is symptomatic, meaning that they have active symptoms, and it often spreads through direct contact with bodily fluids from the infected person.
The CDC stresses the risk to the American public remains low. And in Oakland, California, a jury has tossed out Elon Musk's lawsuit against OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, finding the lawsuit was not filed in time. You're listening to ABC News.
Patients can restore confidence in their appearance with brands such as True Life, Amina, Jobst, and Juzo. These are including items such as mastectomy bras, bra forms, swimwear, gloves, leg compression wraps, and more. Dawn Marie, our mastectomy fitter, will be there with you to find products and complete fittings. We bill Medicare, Medicaid, and most insurances. Call Jim's for your appointment. 360-457-3462.
For 250 years, our armed forces have bravely served America. Wounded Warrior Project honors that legacy by supporting post-9/11 service members and veterans like Anthony, a Marine who was injured by a roadside bomb in Afghanistan.
They carried me through my injuries, not just my physical, but my mental. And seeing other vets doing the same thing helped me tell myself, hey, you can do this.
Join us in honoring warriors at woundedwarriorproject.org/America.
I'm Lindsay Davis. For the latest on today's headlines, be sure to watch Prime tonight starting at 7 Eastern on ABC News Live. Now, more news.
Some major primary elections coming up tomorrow in states like Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and Georgia. ABC's Rick Klein has a preview.
Georgia is the place where Republicans kind of stood up to Donald Trump after the election in 2020. Brian Kemp, who's no longer running, but Brent Raffensperger was the Secretary of State then. He's running for governor. And in a twist, the former lieutenant governor of Georgia, who was a Republican, is now running to be the Democratic nominee for governor after his break with Trump.
The primaries come after Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy lost his bid for re-election in his state's primary over the weekend, coming in third. California Attorney General Rob Bonta is out with a new report today about the conditions inside ICE detention facilities.
Basically, it revealed that basic human necessities were not being attended to, addressed, taken care of. Things like having access to clean water, having access to food that is appetizing, nourishing, that's not undercooked, having access to medical care, whether it be an initial screening or an appointment or a follow-up appointment.
The Department of Homeland Security says in a statement that migrants in detention are in some cases receiving the best medical care of their lives. Fire personnel are currently on scene of a fast-moving brush fire in the area of Sandy Drive in Simi Valley, California, now churning through more than 720 acres. I'm Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
Enjoy all the colors of the season with help from Airport Garden Center. It's a great time to refresh your garden beds and build those hanging baskets. It's true, quality plants start with quality soil, and right now at Airport Garden Center, buy 3 bags of soil and get the 4th bag free. Choose from G&B Organic Standard Planting Mix or Harvest Supreme and boost your bloom. Standard Planting Mix is great for in-ground planting projects, including planting, amending, mulching, or seed cover, while G&B Harvest Supreme improves a variety of soils for vegetable gardens or flower beds. Choose quality soil from Airport Garden Center and save with a buy 3 get 1 free sale on now. Come in and save on bags of G&B organic soil, plus our garden experts can help jumpstart your garden bloom with free advice. Airport Garden Center, planting knowledge, growing gardeners since 1977.
Here's your News Radio KONP forecast, brought to you by All Weather Heating and Cooling. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 61. Northwesterly winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Lows around 46. Tonight, partly cloudy. Cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. Tomorrow, high temperatures reach up to 60. I'm staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently 57.
Normal is broke and common sense is weird. So we're here to help you transform your life. From the Ramsey Network in the Fairwinds Credit Union studio, this is The Ramsey Show. And I'm Rachel Cruz, hosting this hour with my co-host of Smart Money Happy Hour and best-selling author George Kamel.
We're pre-gaming because we're actually